So welcome all to the High Impact Grant Funding Pre-Bid meeting. If this is what you came for, you're in the right space. My name is Morgan Boydston. I am the Human Services Manager at the Office for Community and Economic Development. And we are going to go through a presentation that will help to outline the grant opportunity, what we're looking for in a successful application, and offer some time for you to ask questions. Just so you know, there are only certain questions we are allowed to answer at this particular point of the RFP process. Those would be purchasing type questions, logistical questions on how you would submit. Any question you ask, Katie will be taking down, and we will also post and make available to the public at large. And we can get started. Next, Katie. So the new Human Services Partnership was created at the end of COFU, which was coordinated funding from some of you who might remember, that ended in 2019. It was a 10-year partnership. We created the new Human Services Partnership, which was developed to have a shift in the model funding emphasis to support root causes of poverty, racism, and trauma. The new framework also includes 3 funding rounds. We are on the third, which is the 5-year high impact grants, which you all are here for. The 2 previous funding rounds were 5-year safety net grants and annual mini grants. So high impact grants are intended to provide resources that change the conditions of those that are experiencing racism, trauma, or poverty in Washtenaw County. The grants will be up to $330,000 per year for 5 years, and they are intended to scale existing human services work in an innovative and impactful way. Year 1 will allow for the opportunity to create a strategic plan for the scaling of the innovation and allow time for the recipient to create an evaluation plan with an evaluator to measure the outcomes of the project while also stabilizing whatever existing program you're hoping to scale and innovate. Year 2 through 5 will be used to implement the innovation and track those outcomes. So eligible organizations must prove they have successfully done work in these 3 areas. The first is have an existing equity process embedded throughout the organization and a proposed program initiative, which can be demonstrated through the following. We're looking for previous and/or ongoing equity assessment and strategic plan, equity-driven policies and board policies as described in the organization's policy and board manual handbooks, stakeholder assessment and proof of adaptation of the findings. We're also looking for proven longstanding history of providing quality community-based service. That can be shown by either state or federal funding monitoring results, grant funding reporting or evaluation results, at least 10 years of service in community that provide annual reports as supporting documentation, letters of support from partnering agency, and stakeholder engagement and proof of adaptation into the work your organization does. And we're looking for you to play a significant role in the human services system as is, so you can clearly articulate the services provided and your current outcomes, as well as you can clearly articulate the barriers to providing those current services. And we're also we're asking for proposals to include a narrative. The narrative should include ways in which the agency seeks to scale your program or innovation based on the scaling pedagogy and methods that we have provided. I'll go into that in a little bit. We're looking for you to talk about the innovation and how it differs from the current strategy and process that you are providing. We're looking for potential outcome growth opportunity as a result of your innovation, and how your innovation addresses systemic oppressions of racism, poverty, or trauma. We're also looking for current human services landscape and how proposed initiative would not be a duplication of services, but So because we're not asking for duplication of services, we do want to know ways in which your organization plans to partner with other human services agencies. So we're not asking you to come to create a brand new program that doesn't exist, but we are asking that if you create a program that does exist or you're innovating based off of a program that exists, how are you partnering with other organizations that are already doing that work? And we also want to know how the proposed program initiative will invest in system level innovation. So those scalable opportunities are below. We're looking to see how you scale out, scale up, scale deep, a scaling scree or scaling infrastructure. And the next slide will go a little bit more in detail what those things are. So I'll go over that with you all. And again, we are looking to understand, or for you to explain to us, how your organization combats oppression with internal practices and positive impacts of those efforts on the diverse community you serve. So that specific question points again to what are your internal equity practices and how do you know that what you're doing positively impacts those that you serve? So when we're talking about scaling dimensions are one of these 5. They're often connected, and we would often expect that what you're proposing, your innovation, would include more than just one of these areas of scaling. So scaling out is the expansion of an innovation or replication or adaptation in different contexts. That's the typical way we're used to scaling. So it's almost a given that some of your work will be kind of expanding the number of ways it does it, or might be adding additional partners doing the exact same work or moving to different areas of the community. That's great, but we also want to see ways in which it scales up. So how are you changing the policies, regulations, laws, working relationships around that work? How are you scaling deep? So changing the hearts and minds of the people or the system that are doing that work. How are you doing a scaling scree? So engaging and legitimizing, cultivating other ideas and innovations that seek the same outcomes as the original innovation, but in different ways. So how are you bringing other people along in this work? And then scaling infrastructure. Are you improving the capacity of the system or community to scale this work as you see it? So again, we are looking for you to clearly explain to us ways in which you're not just scaling out, but scaling up, scaling deep, and scaling screen, and scaling the infrastructure of the work that you're doing for systems change efforts. So how do you apply? After you've completed the proposal, you've gathered all your documentation, you want to send the application packet in a PDF form to Beth Duffy in Washtenaw County, Perkins via an email at duffyb@washtenaw.org. You want to include your agency or organization name, the RFP in the email and subject line. Applications must be submitted no later than Tuesday, February 28th at 9 a.m. Proposals that are received after that date or time will be considered late and bids not accepted by Perkins without a waiver. So give yourself plenty of time in case there are technical difficulties, to ensure your application is accepted. So the review process for this, after the applications have been received, purchasing sends those over to OCD staff. Staff will check the eligibility requirements. So we'll check organization's financial risk assessment. All of that is included in the packet in the PDF or in the RFP. We'll be reviewing, making sure that eligible documentation are included. That is an example of board and policy manuals, monitoring results, stakeholder assessments, organizational experience, narrative, etc. After that first initial review, then we'll pass, and all those that have all the eligibility requirements met, we will be passing the proposals on to a racial equity panel review. And that panel review will be reviewing the organization for the policy and board manuals, and review recent equity initiatives, the stakeholder engagement documentations that you provide, etc., just to, for the equity analysis. So are you already doing equitable work? And that if you're not an organization that's doing equitable work so far, that doesn't mean that you're not you're behind the mark by any means, but for this particular effort, systems change. We need organizations that are already doing equity-based work internal in their organizations, because we do not want to recreate a system that has inequitable practices built into it, right? So we are looking for certain organizations that are in a certain point in their equity journey, and this equity review panel will be the ones that will be assessing that. After applications pass through the equity, and I'm sorry, also to be specific, it's not just racial equity, though we do know that when we're looking at racial equity, we tend to hit all the other inequities, but we're looking for ability. Does your organization, through its policy handbooks, manuals, the way it operates, inclusive of all oppressed and diverse populations, which includes religion, ability, sex, gender, etc. It is truly a well-rounded equity review of that organization. Next, Katie. And then after those proposals are identified, then there will be a content review. And so content review will also be a panel of stakeholders that include content experts. So there would be at least one content expert per subject that's submitted. So an example could be if there are 5 proposals that are focused in education, 3 that are focused in homelessness, 2 that are focused in food, 3 that are focused in mental health. We will make sure at least one content expert is represented for each subject area, but all content experts will be reviewing all proposals. There will also be a community representation, so there'll be community reviewers also a part of the group, and we would like to hold that as a focus group. So the community reviewers won't necessarily be reviewing individual proposals, but we will be kind of holding a focus group session with them where we'll present to them the proposals, get questions, feedback for them so that they can be included in the process as well. And then eligible applicants will have the opportunity to come in and present to reviewers. So you'll be able to ask questions of the reviewers will be able to ask questions of you based on your proposal. We expect for each of those different sections or points of the review process to be at least a month and a half each. So do expect to have some delays in communication so that we can have a really intentional and rigorous review process. So if you have any questions about the high impact grants and through this process, or at least until the RFP closes, you can submit those questions to purchasing. Again, submit those to Beth Duffy at duffyb@washtenaw.org. She will then pass those questions over to Katie. Katie's email address is here too, and she's also on the line. And she will answer them, and then we will have all questions posted for community again to have access to. And just as a reminder, we cannot answer questions about your specific proposal or what you're hoping to propose, but these are more focused on the logistics of the application process. If you'd like to learn anything more about the New Human Services Partnership or questions about the proposal or the high impact grants that folks have asked in the past, those things are posted online, and that website is there, and we will also post this presentation as well. So now we can stop sharing and I can see your wonderful faces should you choose to share them. Do you have any questions for Katie and I? Yes, I see Kevin, I see Margie. Kevin first.
Hi, but well,
yes, no, I'm also Sue. I'm with Kevin. I'm Sue Upton at Peace Neighborhood Center. Love the slide on how you describe scaling. And is an organization able to submit more than one proposal if we have 2 projects or new initiatives that fit all that those categories?
I think that's a really good question. There is no limit on the amount of proposals that we ask you that you can submit. This is a very rigorous process, and I would suggest you figure out how to combine it in one so that you're able to attend to the rigor that it requires. And we're also not, yeah, that's it. It's a very rigorous process. It's a really in-depth process. I would suggest you combine. Margie?
Hi, Morgan. Thanks. I had a question about the documents for both the equity review and the staff review. Like, for example, there's the documents about financial risk assessment, but I'm not seeing what documents we should be attaching to do that. So unless I'm missing a list of actual documents, and even with the equity, I see examples, but I don't know if we should just choose from the examples that we think demonstrate that, or if there is a list of actual attachments that you want.
Yeah, let me go. I will have to go back through that RFP and make an amendment if it's not clear, but the list that's there are the lists that we're expecting folks to submit when it comes to the equity review. So if you have it, submit it. If you don't, then you can't submit it. I think when it comes to the financial risk assessment, that's also included in the RFP packet of the audits that we're looking for from the organization, the budget, et cetera. Based off of those financial documents, we do an internal review and come out with a risk analysis or assessment on the staff side. But I will go through the RFP to make sure that it's clear that those what those documents are. And if so, we need to make an amendment. I'll resend that out.
Okay, thank you.
Anne?
Hi, I wanted to follow up also on the documents question. I don't want to overwhelm you. So I guess I'm concerned about how many we should submit. I mean, we have a lot of monitor and visit reports we could submit. We have a I see it being a large PDF that would probably have to be zipped and sent to you. So what guidance do you want to offer there?
That's a great question. I'm going to have Katie, we're going to take that one down and come back so that I can think on it and have it posted for everyone. Okay. I do hear you. We don't want to be overwhelmed and we want to be intentional. And I don't want to have you submit something that we're actually not going to read when it comes to the financial side. I mean, the auditing monitoring side too. So I'm going to, I'll get back to you with that and we'll make sure we have posted that.
Great. Thank you.
Kelly?
Hi, good afternoon. Hi. I just have a few questions. The stakeholder assessment and proof and adaptation of findings, is there an example of what you're looking for this? Or if this is something that our organization's not already being assessed by stakeholders, that this is not something we would submit?
That would be what we've seen that in the past would be like an engagement or consumer survey. So any data you've collected on those that have used your program and report it back on how they've experienced that program. And then examples, any proof that you can provide that you took what they gave you and then actually implemented it into the way the organization works or the program that it or initiative it provides.
Okay, and then I'm assuming then the stakeholder engagement and proof of adaptation, they're both the same thing because it's listed in two different sections, both for the equity-driven process and the other. So I'm assuming it's the same then?
No, I'm going to leave. I don't know if I can answer that. I would leave that up to the organization. Okay. I do not see it as the same. One should be a tool in which you gave, and one is a plan in which you implement it as a result of the tool, but an organization could see them as one and the same. Okay.
And then the question, for at least 10 years of service in the community, providing annual reports as supporting documentation. If we do not have an annual report every year, does an audit suffice, or do you only want annual reports? And if you do you want all of the annual reports we've done in the last 10 years?
That's a good question, and I'm going to try to. So the annual report that we are requesting is also a way of gauging it. How do you interact with community and the services that you provide? So are you giving education, knowledge, uplifting community back based off of the work that you're doing? An audit could suffice if that's what you have provided, though that doesn't answer the question of how you're communicating with those that you work with or partners in the community around the work that you do.
Okay. I think that was it for my questions for now. Thank you.
Or people raising their hands.
I can only see one. Okay, I think I see Steve now, and then I can't. Okay, the other side, other pages seem to be good. Steve.
Hi.
Hi.
I have two questions related to budget for this. The first is if you have any budget like requirements or parameters or anything like that you're looking for our proposals.
We do not have any budget parameters or requirements. We acknowledge that to do systems change work in many cases means stabilizing the organization to do so. So these funds can support staffing. It does not have to go directly to programming, though we do need to understand how the budget will impact racism, poverty, and trauma.
Got it. Thank you. Second related question is if we propose a certain amount for each year, it's a 5-year grant. If we don't spend as much as we think we're going to spend, say in the first year, if we don't spend the full $300,000, can that carry over into the second year? Is there like a flexibility there?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I think, Kevin, I see you again.
Yeah, we had another question.
So you mentioned annual report and how it educates the community. Do you want evidence if the agency provides education for our community in different ways beyond the annual report?
No, that was just an example of making sure an annual report typically is a means of saying we are saying this is what we did and we are engaging community around what we did. Education is not a specific core area we're looking for unless that's something that your program does. If you'd like to provide that though, and it's helpful in helping to prove or show that your innovation or scalable opportunity is significant because of the education that you've done to community, that's amazing. But that was an example. Yes, Margie.
Sorry, I forgot I had one other question. In your examples of scaling, are you looking for us to describe how our program will fit in all 5 of the scalings, or are we choosing from the list of 5? And I understand that you want something beyond scaling out, but do we need examples of all 5?
Nope, this is not a prescriptive process other than the documents we're asking you to provide. So no, you don't have to choose all 5. We just want to understand and want to know that you've understood how you see your program being innovative and scalable and the potential outcomes it could have. And that those scaling areas in some ways are outcomes. They help to show how that innovation, it changes and impacts systems. So it's a twofold. How can your program be scaled and how do you see the impact and envision the impact of your scaled program?
Okay, thanks.
Mariana.
Hi, thanks. So under the background, one of the things it says this grant aims to support is smaller organizations providing high quality services. And so as such, we've never had to do like a full scale audit of our services for a big funder or anything like that. And so one of the things that I'm trying to anticipate is how much of this grant revenue and or additional staff will be required for like reporting and monitoring.
So we, as part of the New Human Services partnership at large, we have contracted outside of these grant funds for an evaluator. So you wouldn't have to, unless through that evaluation or through your first year strategic planning, have identified increased staffing as a result of evaluation of your funded program. We have an evaluator contracted that will work with you throughout the duration of these 5 years. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you for
Okay.
that.
Yep. Jermaine.
Hi, Morgan. Thanks for this presentation, by the way. So just a quick question, kind of piggyback off of Steve's question as far as how to allocate funding. I know you've been talking about programming. Are these funds applicable to capital as well?
I don't know if I can answer that question right now. I might have to take that back to our leadership team.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can you give me an example of what you would be thinking about so I can give them a specific example?
Oh, sure. So we're looking to expand our space because we're outgrowing our space. So we may be looking into either leasing or perhaps buying space. We're still exploring that, but that is something that is high on our priority. So I just want to make sure as we're considering applying, that what to ask for, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I will take that back.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Sorry if you can hear my son, baby talking in the background. Okay. Well, if there are no questions, again, feel free to email Katie. If you have additional questions, we will have them posted. And or procurement or purchasing, who will send us those same questions. And again, they will be posted. And this presentation will also be posted for you to see later. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you.